Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in for today's webinar presentation. Today, we are taking a look at end-of-year reporting in Roomkey PMS. Now, one thing to note with end-of-year reporting, in Roomkey, we don't have a set of reports or a report called end-of-year reporting. Instead, we do leverage year-to-date statistics that are available in many of our existing reporting. So in today's presentation, I'll be going through those different categories of reports and showing examples on screen of the different reports that you can use for your end of reporting tasks. So for today's presentation, we'll start with some introductions. Then we'll dive right into some recommendations from our support and training team about maintaining accurate reports, ensuring that your reporting information is accurate. Then we'll take a look at different statistic reports, including room nights and ADR statistics. Then we'll look at corporate, group, and wholesaler reporting with year end of year statistics. We'll take a look at financial reports, and then we'll also take a look at some Insight BI reporting for our multi-prop or chained hotels. We'll wrap up today's presentation with a summary and Q&A. For our introductions today, my name is Tasha LeClaire. I'm a trainer and implementation specialist with Roomkey. Joining me today, I do have our Director of Customer Experience, Mr. William Tam. Now, I'll be leading today's presentation and the demonstrations on screen. William will oversee the chat and Q&A. So if you do have any questions throughout today's presentation, go ahead and click that Q&A button. You'll be able to ask or type out your question and we'll be able to answer. If there's any questions that are left over, we can include that in our Q&A at the end of today's presentation. Couple more things about today's webinar. This webinar is being recorded. You might have received that notification at the beginning of this presentation. For those of you that are joining today's live presentation, there is a webinar survey at the end. If you have any suggestions for new topics or any feedback about our current presentations, that's a great forum to let us know your thoughts and recommendations, and we appreciate all of that feedback that we receive through those surveys. So jumping right into our first topic for today, let's take a look at some recommendations from our support and training team about maintaining accurate reports. So before you go through and run your end of year reports, we strongly recommend that you ensure that there are no issues occurring in that data. And those issues could be overstayed guests. That means a reservation that has stayed beyond its checkout date. If you have any of those overstayed reservations, you need to resolve those immediately. If you have any no-show reservations, particularly no-shows with a balance, those are going to cause issues with your end of year reporting, especially if they overlap or include some dates in the previous year. And then, absolutely, if you have any unbalanced folios, those are going to be causing issues with your financial or end of year reporting as well. So, you want to make sure that you have none of these issues affecting your database before you start running those end of year reports. Otherwise, you may see some inconsistencies in some values if you are comparing your reporting. Now, a great resource that we have in our support webpage, support.roomkeypms, is our Essential Balancing webinar. This was conducted just last year, or sorry, it was updated just last year. It was conducted a little bit earlier, I believe. But this Essential Balancing webinar includes our recommendation for your end of day reporting. We also include some troubleshooting tips for both the first steps, which includes troubleshooting any overstayed or no-show reservations, and then we have an entire section that is also dedicated to troubleshooting unbalanced folios. So this is a really great resource on our support website. You can watch the full Essential Balancing webinar, or you can click the links in our table of contents to jump directly to a section that you want to see. Those video clips have been clipped out, so it makes it a little bit easier to get to the information that you're looking for. Now, overall, we do want to include this tip. We recommend that you are performing these end of day procedures on a daily basis to ensure that your reporting remains accurate moving forward. So, if you do find that there are any issues in past reporting, if you're looking at your end of year for, let's say, 2024, I recommend taking into consideration some of these steps to incorporate these steps into your daily tasks moving forward for your front desk and night audit teams. So once you have confirmed that your reporting for your calendar year, your previous year is accurate, you've eliminated any of those issues or resolved any of those issues, we can now take a look at some of the reports, some basic reports that you might start out with when you're looking at reporting on previous years. The first one that I'm going to recommend here is the dashboard report. Now, we have two different ways that you can access this reporting tool. The first one is from the operations menu. You can select property dashboard or simply click F1 on your keyboard. And that's going to bring up this dashboard view. Now, the dashboard is always going to show you the current date. So, what you can use is this selection date for property status. You can actually use this date picker to go back to the previous year. And I recommend you look at December 31st, 2024 in this example, because that will now generate year to date statistics, which I have highlighted on this dashboard here. So some of these statistics you can see overall activity, like all of your arrivals, a total number of departures, any early check-ins, walk-ins, things like that. And then over to the right-hand side, we have year-to-date statistics for your overall occupancy, your average room rate or average room revenue. We also have statistics for your total ADR and RevPAR statistics. Now, this dashboard is just a preview. You can click the print button, or you can use the other option here from the reporting menu. You can go to the statistics section and select property status, and that will generate a property status report for you. An example over on the right hand side. Now, if you generate this report from the property dashboard, it will include or it will automatically default to the date that you've selected, which is the 31st of December 2024. Or if you're generating the report from the reporting menu, you want to make sure that you're selecting that specific date, December 31st, 2024. That will ensure that this far right hand column where it says year to date, that will populate with the correct year end or year to date statistics. The nice thing about generating this property status report is that if you have been using Roomkey for more than 1 year, it will start to populate year to date comparison to the same date last year. So in this example, this database has been running for more than 2 years, and I can see that I have a comparison. My year-to-date value compares to the same date in the previous year, 2023. So that is a good way to do year-over-year comparisons as well. Right. So another common report that we like to recommend for year-end reporting is our daily operating report. This report is found in the statistics section of the reporting menu, and it's simply called Daily Operating Report. This report can be quite long because not only is it going to give you some statistical information at the bottom, similar to what we saw in the property status report, but it will also include a line item for every single charge code created at your property. So if you charge for room revenue, it will break out your room revenue by charge code, and it will also break out your other revenue by charge code. Now, this daily operating report, you do want to generate it for December 31st, 2024. If you're looking at the full calendar year, you'll notice that you have your year to date statistics on the far right hand column there. And again, if you've been using Roomkey for more than 1 year, you will start to see a comparison year to date to the same date last year. So again, you can do your year over year comparison with this report as well. Now, one thing that I would like to just note about this report, we've got a little bit of a tip here. When you're generating this report, sometimes you may have transaction codes that you don't use anymore or have since been deactivated. Or if you would like to group your transaction code, we have a tool called the Tran Code Setup, and you can actually group these revenue charge codes into subgroups within the other revenue section. Likewise, if you've got any charge codes that are set to do not use, when you create groups, you can omit these do not use transaction codes. One thing that you will want to note is that if they are not being used moving forward, you just want to make sure that it shows $0 for all of these columns here. And that just makes it a little bit easier or adds an extra level of organization to this report, makes it a little bit easier to group some of these charge codes if you prefer to see that type of summary here. Otherwise, if you do not have any grouping set up on TranCode Setup, it will list all transaction codes by default. The next reporting that I want to take a look at is our room type statistics. This is found in the statistics menu as well in the reporting menu, and it's simply called revenue by room type. This will generate a report that will include statistics for the previous year, and we've got a year to date column on the far right hand side. Now, for this database, just to protect the privacy, I have blacked out the room types, but you would see the list of your room types listed on the left hand side. We would generate this report for December 31st of the previous year, so 2024. And then that ensures that the year to date values on the far right hand side show me my are representative of my year end for the previous year. So that includes rooms sold or rooms occupied, my revenue for each room type, and then my occupancy percentage for each room type a year to date. The next report that we do get a request for quite frequently is our room nights and ADR. Now, we've got a couple of variations of this type of reporting. So the first one I'm going to look at is room nights and ADR by client type. This report, when you generate this report from the statistics section of the reporting menu, you will select a specific date and you are going to make sure you select December 31st, 2024. And that ensures that this far right-hand column, year to date, will include end of year or year to date for 2024 in this example. Now, this report is going to list all of your client types, and it's going to show you your number of reservations for each of those client types within the year, the number of room nights sold, the room revenue for those room nights, and then your ADR. A little tip for this type of report, there is a variation of this report and it's called room nights and ADR by client type grouping. When you set up your client types in the system configuration menu, when you set those up, if you have created groupings or you have grouped certain client types together, you can use the variation of this report, the room nights and ADR by client type grouping, to report on those groups instead of the individual client types. Now, I don't see that used very often, but we do have some properties that might have two or more group client types or OTA client types. If you have created groups for those client types in the client types module, that would then feed into that variation of this report here. So a couple little tips there, just depending on how you like to view these reports. Now, another common variation of the room nights and ADR that we get a request for is source of business. We have two variations of this room nights and ADR by source of business. We can see the standard one, or we can take a look at statistics that include previous year to date, so PYTD. I'm going to show both of these reports on screen. And both of these reports do include a year to date value. So again, whenever you're generating these reports, you want to make sure that you are selecting this report and then choosing December 31st, 2024. And that ensures that when you see this year to date statistics or column, that includes end of year information. So again, you can see we have two variations of this type of reporting. The benefit of seeing your previous year to date, or the second option at the bottom here, is that you'll have an additional column off to the right hand side that will show you your comparison year over year. So again, if you have been using Room Key for more than a year, you will start to see information populate into that previous year to date, or PYTD version of this reporting. So next, we're going to take a look at some reporting or end of year reporting that is available for our corporate accounts, group blocks, and wholesalers. I'm going to go ahead and start with our corporate accounts, and I want to highlight one of our reports that's available from the statistics section of the reporting menu. Within the corporate statistics, this report is called Corporate Statistics by Date Range. One thing to note about this report, if you are familiar with reporting in Roomkey, anything that is reporting by date range is typically limited to 1 to 3 months in a date range. But this report is an exception. You can actually pull this report for 1 full year. So when you generate this report in Roomkey, you're going to get a date from and a date to, and you're going to use the date from to select January 1st, 2024, and the date to is going to be December 31st, 2024. So that tells Roomkey that you want to see this information generated for the full calendar year of 2024. This is one of the rare reports that will allow you to do a full year's worth of information in Roomkey. And when you generate that report, this is just an example from one of our demo databases, but this is going to break out all of the corporate accounts that are created inside your database, inside the corporates module, and it's going to show you the total revenue within that date range, the total number of nights, ADR, and the average length of stay across all the reservations within that date range. The other thing that it will include, and this is optional, if you have clerks in your database that are created as a sales manager, you can attach your sales manager to these different corporate accounts. And then this report you can actually filter by sales manager. So there is a variation using the sales manager filter of this report. I have an example here where one of these corporate accounts has John Smith is the attached sales manager. So if I wanted to see all of the corporate business that my sales manager, John Smith, has generated for the year, I could apply that sales manager feature filter whenever I am generating this report in Roomkey. So this is really helpful, even if you are not using that sales manager tool or designation for your sales team in Roomkey. You can still generate this full report for 1 calendar year, taking a look at all of that corporate activity, revenue, and ADR information. The next report that I want to take a look at for end of year reporting is our group revenue summary. Now, this information is not found in our standard reports menu. You're actually going to go directly to the groups module. So in the operations menu, you'll select groups. That will open up the groups module for you. And then in the groups module, you're going to select the reports menu and select group revenue summary. Now, this group revenue summary can be pulled for 1 full year. As mentioned, this is one of those rare reports in Roomkey that allows you to pull data for a full year worth of information, or full year date range. So when you generate this report, you want to make sure that you're selecting January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. And that ensures that this information that displays on screen, which will show a list of all of your groups in-house within that date range, it will include room revenue totals, ADR, other revenue, and a total revenue. And then, of course, at the bottom of this report, it will show you the report totals for all of these groups within that date range. Now, similar to our corporate account summary report. This report can be filtered by sales manager. If you have designated sales managers in your clerks module, you can filter this report by specific sales managers. So you can filter and see which sales managers have brought in which revenue. This example here is not showing the filtered version. This is showing all groups within that date range. So the next report that I'd like to highlight is found in our statistics section in the reporting menu, in our standard reporting menu in Roomkey. It's called the Wholesale Statistics by Date Range. You'll find this in the Wholesale Statistics subgroup, and it's simply called Wholesale Statistics by Date Range. Now, again, this report by date range is one of those unique reports that does allow you to pull information within a full year date range. So when you generate this report in Roomkey, you're going to have a date from and a date to. Want to make sure that you select date from is January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. That's going to ensure that this information on this report is for the full calendar year. And it's simply going to show you a comparison of all of your wholesale accounts. So you can see the revenue, the number of nights sold, the ADR statistics, and the average length of stay. We also have a column for sales manager. So if you're utilizing the sales manager designation for your clerks inside the clerks module, you can filter this report by sales manager as well. This example from our demo database does not have any sales managers attached, and that's why I don't have any of those appearing in that sales manager column there. But this is a great report to use at the end of the year, looking back at the previous year and seeing all of that total revenue. And you can, of course, see the revenue per wholesale account in this section. Now, I have one additional report that we can generate that's not really a corporate group or wholesaler, but if you utilize the travel agent module inside Roomkey, meaning that you allow travel agents to book stays at your property on behalf of guests using their IATA number, they need to have an account set up inside the travel agent module in order to appear on these travel agent statistics. So this report is found in the reporting menu in the statistics section, and it's called Travel Agent Statistics. You will select December 31st, 2024, so the last date of the previous year, to ensure that this year to date column will generate with end of year information. It will list each of your individual travel agents, and I know they will appear with their revenue, their room nights, ADR, and average length of stay on this report. If you do have your database running for more than 1 year, you will see a year over year comparison to the previous year to date whenever you look at this travel agent statistics report. I do have a little tip from our support team just regarding this report. If you have several travel agents accounts created, you can organize this report. In this example, I have selected the highest to lowest sort order. So it shows me the highest revenue at the top all the way down to the lowest revenue at the bottom. So that was a lot of statistical information. We're going to switch gears a little bit now and take a look at some financial reporting that is available in Roomkey. For most of our financial reports, it's based off of a daily reporting basis. So if you're looking at your journal entry reports or transaction reports, those are reporting that is limited to up to 1 month. So it's really not suitable for end of year reporting. Those reports are recommended for daily use for your daily reconciliation or your daily accounting tasks. But one report that I would like to highlight for financial purposes in our financial section is our account receivable reconciliation report. This is found in the reports menu in the financial section, and it's called account receivable reconciliation, or sometimes called the ARR report. This report is going to summarize your receivable accounts. If you generate this report on the last day of the previous year, so December 31st, 2024, you will get a balance out, and this would be for the end of the previous year. So, just a quick recap from our essential balancing webinar. Any revenue that is collected before a guest arrives at the hotel, so the advanced deposits, will appear in the deposit holdings account. Any revenue that is collected or charged during the guest stay while they're between check-in and check-out, that will appear in the AR guest account. And any revenue that is owed after the guest has checked out is considered AR City revenue. And that includes any of your direct bill invoicing that you might do with local businesses or organizations in the area. So, for our financial reports, that's about it for end of year reporting. Most of your end of year reporting financially will come from the counting interfaces that you might use outside of Roomkey. But one thing that I would like to highlight for those of our clients that utilize our embedded payment processor, Roomkey PMS Payments, powered by FullSteam, we do have access to the Merchant Track portal. Merchant Track portal is the processor portal that works with FullSteam. This portal does give you access to summary reports that can be utilized for end of year reporting for your bank statements. This can also be used for funding or deposits. Reconciliation at the end of the year. You can also review chargeback information and any returns. To access Merchant Track directly from Roomkey, you'll go to our reports menu. Online processing will give you access to the processor portal, and that's single sign on. So you don't have to log into a separate portal. You can access this portal directly from Roomkey. Now, in Merchant Track, you will see along the left hand side is your navigation panel, and at the bottom, there will be a reports button. If you don't see this reports button, it is permission based, so you may have to take a look at your permission settings on your clerk. Your user role in the clerk's module in Roomkey to make sure that you have access to this reports tab in the Merchant Track portal. Once you click on that reports button, that'll bring you to this reporting page, and you've got a whole list of different reports that are available in Merchant Track. For the purposes of today's presentation, I just want to highlight a couple of these that can be used for end of year reporting. At the very top, the funding summary report, you can run that report for one full year, and that's going to show you all of the funding or batches that have been deposited into your hotel bank account. So this can be a really useful report for the accounting team if they are reconciling at the end of the year. Another one that you can use is the transaction summary report. Just be mindful that this summary report is going to show all transactions within the year. You can pull this or generate this report for one full year. So it may take a couple of minutes just to generate that large amount of information within that date range. Another summary report that I'd like to highlight from this Merchant Track portal is the chargeback summary report. This is going to allow you to look at all of the chargebacks within the previous year. So if you have received some chargebacks, if you're doing an audit of the previous year, again, this is definitely more on the accounting side of things. You can use the chargeback summary report and you can generate that report for one full year in the past and see a list of all of the chargebacks that have been recorded within that date range. Lastly, and this one is optional, but if you do accept any ACH returns, the ACH returns summary report can be beneficial if you wanted to see all of the returns that you've done in the past for the ACH payment type. If you do not accept ACH payment at your property, you do not need to use this report. If you try and access this report, it may just tell you that there's no data to report or there's no information on the report. So, our last topic for today, I want to talk about Insight BI reporting. This may not be applicable to everyone. If you are an independent hotel, you may not use Insight BI reporting. But if you are part of a property chain or a chain of hotels or group of hotels all using Roomkey, BI reporting can be used to collect statistical information and revenue information across multiple hotels in a group or chain of hotels. So, in order to access this BI reporting tool, it is not found in Roomkey. You would actually navigate to a separate URL or link, and it's dependent upon your server location. So, if you're not too sure about your server location, you can reach out to our support team for more information about which server you'll be accessing or which URL you will use. You can log in to the BI reporting portal using your Roomkey PMS username and password. Now, a couple things to note. If you are not sure if you have BI reporting or if you want to purchase BI reporting for your chain of hotels, you can contact our inside sales team to purchase Insight BI reporting. So you'll purchase access to this portal and we'll make sure that you have access to view the different hotels in your chain of properties. You can contact our inside sales team directly via email to request this type of reporting portal. If you do have Insight BI, but your login when you try to log in, you are denied access, you may not have access based off of your clerk ID. So in order to get access for your clerk ID or for your username, you have to have a key operator from your property or organization contact our support team to request access. We do limit access to this reporting tool to approved personnel only, and that approval comes from your key operator, usually an owner or admin user at your property. So if you have access to BI reporting for your chain or group of hotels, a couple reports that I would like to highlight from Roomkey Insight BI portal. The first one is our dashboard or table report. When you first log into Insight BI, you will see the dashboard information display, and by default, it's going to show you all of the properties listed along the left-hand side that are available in your chain. So again, this is really useful if you have multiple properties or a chain of hotels. By default, all of them will be selected here, but you can choose or deselect certain ones. By default, they will all appear in blue. That means that they are selected by default. Now, the first thing that I'm going to take a look at, I'm going to recommend that you click on this table tab, and then I'm going to recommend that you change it to the last day of the previous year. So this example, I've changed the date to December 31st, 2024. And that's going to now give me my year to date information across all of these properties. So all of the properties in my hotel, my year to date, I've got a total rooms. This is statistical information, so it's going to tell me how many out of order rooms I've had available. It's going to give me my occupancy information and percentage. It's also going to show me my total revenue, my average rate, and my total ADR. So some very high level statistics can be grabbed directly from this dashboard using the table option and just selecting the last day of the previous year, December 31st, 2024. Now, another report that I like to recommend, or another reporting tool featured inside BI reporting, this statistics section. So at the very top of the portal, you will see these tabs. We start on the dashboard report, but if you move over to this statistics tab, this will give you access to variations of different reports or statistical information. Now, there's a lot to choose from. This is just an example of the client types version, but you could look at these statistics for wholesalers, groups, room types, source of business, travel agents, corporates, and you can also view reporting by area, meaning see where your guests are coming from based off of the address information that has been entered into their reservation and room key. So lots of reporting variation there. And again, we've already looked at some of these types of reporting statistics for an individual hotel, but the benefit of Insight BI reporting is that you can look at this information across all properties within your chain of hotels. So in order to use these statistics reports, when you click on the statistics tab, you're not going to see any information. You're only going to see the top header here and the filters on the left-hand side. The next thing that you're going to do is select the year. So instead of having to do a date range, the statistical reporting you can do for one full year. And then off to the right hand side, you'll click apply. It's going to show you by client type by default because that's the first one that shows up here. But you can use your cursor to scroll over to wholesalers, groups, room types, etc., all across this header here to view those different statistics. This example is just showing client types, and it's going to show the summary revenue, number of bookings, number of nights, and average length of stay summarized by property. But for each property, you can click the plus symbol next to the property, and that will expand to show a breakdown per client type. So that's the example that I have displayed here. Now, this is great to view on screen, but if you would like to generate a report or save this as PDF outside of this basic visualization, off to the right hand side, you have this little save icon. When you click on the save icon, you can choose to generate this report summary, which will summarize by hotel, or you can choose the detail, which will show these detail client types for each hotel. So it'll show the expanded version. So you got both options whenever you use the save icon to generate this report. Now I could go through and show you all of these variations, wholesalers, groups, room types, etc., but it's all the exact same process. Again, you're going to click the year, select apply, choose the type of statistic you want to look at, and then if you want to view the expanded version, you would just click on that little plus symbol next to the name of the hotel. One further tip that I do have whenever you're looking at these statistics reports in Insight BI is that in the bottom left-hand corner, you do have the option to filter by reservation channel. By default, it's going to show you all channels. So quite a lot of information can be generated about across the multiple properties in your chain using this Insight BI tool. Like I said at the beginning, if you do have any questions about signing up or getting access to BI, definitely reach out to our inside sales or support team members um, in order to access this information for your properties. So lots of details, lots of reporting available in Roomkey. To wrap up our presentation for today, we did take a look at overall how to maintain accurate reports, some of our tips and tricks from our support and training team members. Then we took a look at different statistics, room nights, and ADR information that can be generated directly in Roomkey. We also dug into some corporate group and wholesaler as well as travel agent statistics that are available from that statistics menu in Roomkey. We did talk about financial reporting and reference some information that is available for our clients through Merchant Track that use our embedded payment solution with Roomkey PMS payments powered by Full Steam. And then we wrapped up our presentation with Insight BI reporting and that reporting tool that's available for properties or chained or grouped properties. I'm going to open up the floor to see if there's any questions regarding any of the reporting, um, any information that we have looked at so far for our end of year reporting. Great. We had a question into our Q&A asking if we can run year-to-date reports based off of fiscal year basis and not a calendar year. We can. Um, One of the settings that we have set up for your property, one thing that you'll need to take a look at inside your database is your end of year setting. So I'm just going to open up a test database here on screen. If you go to System Configuration, Property, this is going to bring up your property module. Here we go. Over here in the Preferences tab, you'll click modify and you want to make sure that where it says default first month of the year, uh, if it says 1, this means that your fiscal year is based off of the calendar year. So both the fiscal year and the calendar year start at January or month number 1. If your fiscal year is different, let's say your fiscal year might start in June, that will show year six. And when you are generating your year to date reports, what you will use instead of the December 31st, 2024 date that we had referenced throughout today's presentation, you're actually going to use the um, May 31st, 2024, because that would be the previous year, the last date of the previous year. Now, any of the reporting that we looked at where it was by date range, so that refers to those, sorry, many of the reports that we talked about for corporate groups and wholesalers, where you can customize the date range, the date from, and the date to. In those cases, you can simply use a custom date range. So, in my examples today, I talked about January 1st to December 31st. But if your fiscal year is different, you could run the report from June 1st to May 31st of the uh, separate year. So, any of those reports, like I said, corporate group and wholesaler section there, where it gives you that custom date range, you have a little more flexibility. You don't have to rely on that setting in your property module. Okay, so I've got another question here from Emma asking or letting us know that you're currently using DOR to generate month to month comparison of revenue, and it's useful for you for your end of or your annual revenue analysis. Um, Great. So that might be some of the reporting that we looked at statistics wise. The ones that I had noted in today's presentation, we talked most about the um, room night, sorry, yeah, room nights and ADR. So let me just pull up that test database again. The reporting that I was recommending are mostly these reports that appeared towards the bottom here of the statistics for section. So if you're using instead of by date range, if you're choosing to use the standard, or sorry, if you are choosing to use the date range reports, these ones are limited to up to 31 days or 1 month. If you prefer to do that and then generate multiple reports and use that for your end of year reporting, that is certainly viable as well. I was just highlighting some reporting that does include that year to date or YTD value on the report by default. But if you prefer to look at more month over month and generate those for each month of the previous year, that's certainly accurate as well. As long as you have reviewed those steps to make sure that you are maintaining accurate reports and making sure that you don't have any overstayed reservations. Unbalanced folios or no shows with a balance, those year over year or DOR reports should be accurate as well. So I'm just going to leave the Q&A open for a little bit longer, see if there's any other questions. These have been some great questions so far. It looks like there are no more questions in the Q&A. I'm just going to double check the chat here. Okay, no questions in the chat either. Um, Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you everyone for joining in for our end of year reporting webinar. If you do have any questions or if you have any recommendations or webinar topics that you'd like to see in the future, definitely give us some feedback on that webinar survey. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and we'll see you next month.